Okay, everyone, welcome to the August 29th regular school committee meeting of the Neshoba Regional School District. Welcome back, everyone. Not only is it our first meeting, it's the first day of school. Superintendent Clenchey's going to give us a lovely update.
Long one.
That's good. That's all good. And we've got quite a few things on the agenda tonight. Before we jump into them, do we have any citizens' comments tonight on any of the agenda items? Okay, you look like you're in class.
I know.
As far as chair updates, I don't have any other than the school committee calendar that is online and in every single meeting packet has been populated with several items that are now becoming our standard discussions at certain times of the year. It's much more robust. I really thank you for all the things that you added. And I think what we're gonna do is, last year, I think worked well, where through the fall months, we had all of Superintendent Clenchey's functional areas come and report out to us on what the needs were, what their asks were, what their challenges were. And we're going to not discuss dollars at that point. We'll hold that until we get into budget season and really start talking about where we want to put the money, because that allows us to look at what the priorities are from a needs perspective. And then we'll prioritize when we get into talking about the money, okay? So that's how we're gonna approach this year as well. We don't have a student yet.
Nope, not yet, but that we,
But we
I'm sure
will.
next meeting.
We will, so I'm looking forward to meeting the student. So we don't have a student report up. Huh? Was she over there?
I think it was he. I believe his name is there. Colin, it's Colin.
What's his last name?
Please.
Can I say?
Lyle?
Yeah.
Oh, Colin Delisle, that's awesome. Well, we're waiting for you, Colin, next meeting. Can't wait to see you. He's a great kid, just saying. Okay, well, they all are, but he's cool. And now I'm gonna turn it over to the superintendent.
Great, thank you. So this is, as I said to Chairman Ramosko for this meeting, there's a lot of information I'm gonna be getting out tonight, and basically just kind of updating you, because a lot has happened since our last meeting. So this is a abnormally long superintendent's report. I know that Todd McGuire, our assistant superintendent, is also going to speak to one or two things. I've got quite a list here. I'm going to try to go through as quickly as I can, and then I'll maybe stop at the end of every single one to make sure that we don't have any questions that you'd like us to go back after. The first one that I'm going to speak to, I don't know if you can put the superintendent's report up there or not. That would be great if you can. The first one I'm going to speak to is kind of exactly what Chairman Ramosko was just saying. There's a real rhythm that you can feel being developed in the school district right now. And you know, one of the custodians said to me early in the game, we know exactly what you're looking for this summer. And so this summer was a really good summer for that kind of thing, whether it's a purchase of supplies, whether it was a maintenance of the buildings, whether it was fiscally oriented things, whether it was human resources oriented things, whatever. Everybody kind of seemed to know. So that rhythm was really, really good this summer and came into play very, very well. The audits are being orchestrated right now for the fiscal piece. You'll hear, I'm going to speak to it in a little bit, but you'll hear from Pat next meeting, because it's basically our year end for one and the beginning of the fiscal year for the second one. And so she's going to have all of that kind of detail in the next meeting. But the auditors have come and already started some of their preliminary work. I'm going to talk about the administrative retreat quickly, so I'm not sure if we can go to that slide. What I thought I would do is I put up just the type of agenda that we ran on. Our administrative retreat this year was a 3-day retreat, and we really hunkered down, and we didn't have lunch. I mean, we ate lunch, but we didn't take any breaks at all. We just started early in the morning and went right through. This gives you a flavor of the type of things that we had talked about. The innovator's mindset exercise, Cindy, Martina, and Todd did a nice job with that. And you will find that will interweave all of our work moving forward this year, including our administrative meetings, including our staff meetings. You will find that work will continue, and I spoke to that at our first day back as well. Of course, there's always an area for general housekeeping, that kind of thing, and that's the kind of thing that we talked about there. And then, as typical of our larger group meetings, each of our units reports out. And I know for those of you who've attended one of those meetings, you've been there and seen what that's like. So, of course, Lisa Gilbicki reported out, updated, the Ellis updated was a big one, of course, for us because, you know, our teachers had training. I'm going to speak to that a little bit more later as well. So it gave her a chance to have everybody in the room to make sure that everybody was on the same page. Todd and Laura gave a broad overview. We've got a skeletal plan of the digital literacy plan, and so they spoke to that, looking for feedback from the administrative team. Facilities, I'm going to do a little bit of an update for you tonight. Rob will do a much more extensive update for you. Exactly as Chairman Ramosko had said, all of those units will come in and start to report out, probably starting the next meeting. And then, of course, Pat always speaks to everybody and as for expectations moving forward, how to do proper procurement practices, all that kind of thing. Anne Marie then gives a big brief talk on everything HR related. So that's kind of some of the discussion we had with her. Then Joel, Todd, and Laura, they've been working together on the communication plan. They did a broad overview of that. Teaching and learning reported out. These are the foci for them. Group of personnel. The NRSD actually was where it says level of support change. That actually was the high school. We've got some co-teaching models now that we're attempting to put into play at the high school. Really, really excited about that. So thrilled with that. Tanya reported on the athletics. Tom reported on the school nutrition. So that was our first day. The second day was mental health first aid training. This was an initiative that we started last year at the high school, and we sent some folks off to become train-the-trainers type folks for us to capitalize when they came back. They've done a fair amount of the training at the high school, and what we did on that second day of training is trained all administrators that are site-based and some extras. So we opened it up to whoever else wanted to come in and take that training. So we had quite a full house that day for that. It's about an 8 or 9 hour training, so it's pretty intense, but it was really, really well received. The third day is just principals only, so that at that point in time, that's when you're really just talking about things that are site-based specific. So for example, like Brian Cody talked about residency, I'm going to talk about residency tonight a little bit too. Just hammering out final details. What do we do at this stage? What do we do at that stage with the principals? Who is responsible for this work, and kind of lays it all out. So this is, we wrapped up probably just about a 2-year cycle worth of work on residency this summer. So very, very pleased with that. And then just kind of goes to you an idea. There you see the innovator's mindset again, as we talked about it, George Kuros's book, as the principals and what our expectations were moving forward. So that gives you a flavor of the administrative retreat. It was very, very successful. I think people felt really good about it. We accomplished a lot, and I think it put us in a good place to start the new school year. Any quick questions on the administrative retreat that you might have? No? Okay. So if we can quickly talk about the first days back, and we'll put up the slide. We put up the slide on that for the agenda, so you can take a look at that as well. So the first 2 days back, the first day is very typical. All staff meeting in the morning until around, this year, probably around 9:30, 9:45 by the time we left. I am going to show you just a little bit of the slide show that we showed this year. I won't show it all to you because it's like 10 minutes, but I'll show you a little bit of it today. Thereafter, all of our staff left and went back to the buildings, with the exception of some of our cafeteria and custodian people, because of course they had to get some work done for the final days. But they'll be being trained for Alice later in the month of September, so they're the only people. So this was an enormous training. So we had just under 600 people online at the exact same time taking the Alice training this year during this first day. So the first piece of it was the Alice training. It started around that 10:15 mark. Some people were finished around that 11:15. Others still, 11:45, were still working through it. Everybody broke around noon and then was back to their regular classrooms and meetings and that kind of thing. Day 2, and if you take a look over on the right-hand side, where it says the Alice training schedules on August 28th, We broke the trainings up between the 3 communities and the high school. So you can see how that played out between Lancaster. So they started theirs in the morning, NRHS in the afternoon, and Baltimore in the afternoon. Todd and I traveled 117 a lot. Actually, the last couple of days we've traveled 117 an awful lot. We managed to take in most of the beginning parts of the sessions and some of the debriefs. Each community and the high school did a myriad of 5 scenarios, and then did a debrief after each one of those 5 scenarios. So it's like real life scenarios. So they weren't, for example, weren't allowed to lock their doors, and we had to work within the realm that your door isn't locked. Now what do you do? I would say it went very, very well from my perspective. I want to give a shout out to our police department, who worked so closely with us on this, so closely, right from the beginning on all of this, right from helping to orchestrate the online piece to the case scenarios. The police really did run it. Lisa's teed it up and got things organized. She's the one that did the actual orchestration ahead of time, but it was really the police that came in and did the run through of each of these. So in essence, we now have just under 600 people fully trained on ALICE.
Could you share with people what ALICE means and what it is?
Can you just scroll down there, please? On the right-hand side, thank you, Cindy, for putting that in here. Cindy said, I think I should just put it in just in case people say, what exactly is ALICE? So ALICE is a proactive options-based plan for civilian response to a violent, critical incident. ALICE authorizes and empowers individuals to utilize human action, building infrastructure, and communication options to increase their chances of survival. So A would be alert, L is lockdown, I is inform, C is counter, and E is evacuate. So that's what the left there.
So this is part of the safety plan that's been put in place, and you're just, because I know we were doing components of ALICE, and now you're just digging deeper into.
Yeah, we really, our staff really didn't have to ALICE training. They didn't. And so we're very comfortable, and as I shared with staff on our very first day, you know, it's my goal that by the end of September, people felt a quiet confidence that they knew what to do. We will likely not do trainings with our younger kids, like our elementary or middle school kids. We are contemplating what to do in terms of how much training or how little training at the high school with our high school students. But we are being very thoughtful in this process, and I think that that is serving us incredibly well, because everybody feels very comfortable as we're moving forward right now. I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail when I talk about safety as well, but we do have parent evenings coming up, and your school principals will notify you. We'll send something out of central office, and our principals will send something further. Lisa Govicki will probably send out a notification saying here are the dates, but I've seen the email threads, the dates have all been finalized. Our police will be attending those. Those are basically going to be 1-hour sessions with our police and Lisa. It's not really a time for Q&A, it's more an evening for dissemination of information, so that's not exactly what the school district is doing. So those will all occur in the month of September. So I'll go into a little bit more detail on safety when I get to that section. So then the rest of the day then, if you were ALICE in the morning, it was regular activities in the afternoon. If it was ALICE in the afternoon, it was regular activities in the morning. I feel very, very good about where we've landed at the end of all of this. One of the things that George Curls talks about in his book about the innovator's mindset, and maybe Anne-Marie will be happy to hand out one of these. We gave these out the very first day too, and he talks about the 3 descriptors there about empowering, unleashing, and leading. And so Anne-Marie, I think it was really your idea. She said, you know what, I think we should get one of these for everybody who walks in that first day back, and reminds us that these are the key words that we want to look at. So in my presentation the first morning, I broke it into 3 components. The first was talking about the academic direction for the district for the new year. The second was about the safety, and the third foci, part of the 3 foci, was the George Curls and the fact that we needed to be mindful about innovation within our classrooms, within our schools, within our units. And so we gave some good examples, and I think that our staff I think that they're so ready to take all of this on. So that's, and you'll see it's got NRSD on it, and inside it's got 2018 school committee member when we started this process. So that's, in a nutshell, really quickly, that's why it's got the 3 words there, empower, unleash, and lead on the right-hand side. So that's about our first days back. Any questions on that? No? Okay. I think it went very, very well, so I'm very, very pleased with where we sit. And the students coming in today was just like the bonus. It was just like everything really, really smoothly. Commissioner, so our Commissioner of Education is going to come and has chosen us to come and visit again. So we just had a Commissioner of Education visit a year ago, but we're on the roster. So I immediately wrote back and said we would love to entertain the Commissioner. Look forward to seeing him. So at first he thought that they were looking for some time in December. We just got an email back late this afternoon saying it may be pushed off into the new year because he's been called to speak at another conference somewhere else in the country. But nonetheless, he'll be coming, he'll be joining us, and we'll look very forward to that. So with that, then Todd, I'm going to turn it over to you for digital literacy and learning in a broad overview.
So in regards to digital literacy and learning, we've spent some time over the summer particularly working with the high school administration and how we're going to get those Chromebooks out to kids. We've done that. Kudos to Suchi and his department on getting those updated and cleaned, etc. Also worked extensively with the middle school principals as well as the teaching and learning staff on really having a rollout plan for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and that plan has been mapped out in terms of how we're going to do that, and also have a digital citizenship lesson and seminar for all students with a Chromebook. But just in terms of taking a look at where we're going with digital literacy and learning, we really wanted to define it in terms of what it's going to offer us and the ability to use technology to facilitate learning in terms of finding, evaluating, creating, and communicating information that require both cognitive and technical skill. And we also wanted to identify those really, really important literacy and learning skills that are associated with digitized learning that really focus on accessing, finding, and verifying reliable, credible sources for kids. Positively engaging in digital communities. We know that digital communities exist in a variety of ways, and really teaching them how to positively do that with a digital device in their hands. We want them to understand how online activity and communication impact privacy and security. We've talked a lot about that in teaching and learning department this summer, just in terms of when we are purchasing applications and software for our students and our teachers. We want to make sure that those companies adhere to privacy standards, and that's really, really important. And I'll be talking about that, I think, as the year goes on, even a little bit more in this presentation, but that's extremely important so that student information does not get sold to third parties, etc. We want to teach them how to produce information, understand their role as a customer in an online marketplace, as well as understand and evaluate the internet as a means of civic action and engagement, and that relates specifically to the new civic standards that are going to be coming down from the Mass Department of Ed, particularly at grade 8. So that coincides well with the middle school implementation of the Chromebook and the digital literacy initiative. But also we want to really take a look at where we are going. And so we've had some extensive conversations in terms of what the resource and curricular shift is going to look like. We want to make sure that our Chromebook initiative, our digital learning process aligns with our curriculum revision cycle, which has been rolled out. We also want to identify online educational resources that are credible, that are verifiable. For years we've been using textbooks, and those are obviously credible and verifiable by textbook companies such as Pearson, etc. We want to make sure that we are purchasing online educational resources that adhere to privacy standards and are credible for our kids. We want to have technological applications that facilitate teaching and learning and not replace them. We want to start taking a look at online textbooks and resources that are housed and accessible online when kids are walking home with a Chromebook. All of these textbooks, all of their resources can be housed in this particular Chromebook. And so we want to start taking a look at, do we need a balance of textbooks in the classroom as well as Chromebooks? How much we want to make that resource shift, because so much is available online now. And we've also taken a look at and actually had some conversations with a company called the Learn Platform. The Learn Platform is a place where we can house all of our software, all of our technological software, all of our applications. So when teachers want to request an application, let's say that they want downloaded for students, that goes through a vetting process through the Learn Platform. So they are a third-party vendor that helps us vet resources. And it also allows other teachers who are using it to assess and evaluate those applications. So we can take a look at the requests that are made. We can take a look at how it's being used in other districts. We can also evaluate it, and it also allows us administrators to go in and see how many kids and how many teachers are actually using it, so that we can get a sense of whether it's worth the money that we're spending on it. So it's a really, really good platform. I used it in a former district, and it was very, very well received by teachers. And then in terms of accountability and communication, we certainly want to open this up to professional learning. Martina Kenyon, Cindy Larson, and I did an intro to our middle school teachers yesterday, just in terms of the purposes and objectives for digital learning and literacy. We also have a September 14th professional development plan for all of our middle school teachers that we're all going to deliver, the three of us. We want to look at how we might measure student learning and skill development associated with digital literacy, provide regular updates to the community, the school committee, student showcases of work, and we certainly want to share our best practices within the district. And one of the ideas we've thrown out is offering a parent university so that we can train parents and community members, and we're planning on doing that this fall. So once kids are issued their Chromebooks, we plan to offer a couple of parent information sessions, actually training sessions, so that we can also train parents in digital learning applications, the Chromebook. We did this in Danvers. It was very well received. We did it on 2 Saturdays in an evening, and it allows parents to then be able to get into, say, the Google Classroom and obviously engage with the work that they're doing.
That's great.
So that's kind of the overview of where we're at right now, but we certainly have a lot in terms of looking at
So we're gonna have questions.
it. Sure.
I know Lynn's got one.
So nobody denies that computers enhance education or will very greatly enhance education, but this is all new for us, and so we're looking at growing a department, just IT, just to buy these because they've got a life cycle.
Correct.
We're gonna be purchasing them continually, we're gonna be maintaining them, we're gonna be warrantying them, we're gonna do all kinds of stuff. So how are you gonna sustain this? We don't, I mean, as far as I can tell, we do not have the funds to do what it is you're looking to do, because you're looking at people, you're looking at hardware, you're looking at warranties, you're looking at buying software on a continual basis. Is there any plan for that?
So I don't think that that's necessarily a component to this piece of the work. That's probably gonna go back to, what are we gonna do in a budget cycle to support this or not?
But I guess the
Are we
question,
gonna roll it out before we actually look at it, to see where we're going? Are we gonna commit to something without knowing the dollars that we're gonna need to support it?
Oh, no, again, remember that this is just a broad overview, and we said that we would have this ready for December 19th, right? Remember, that was the goal to,
Which concerns me a little bit, but,
what concerns you?
well, I mean, now, at that point, we're talking in the budget cycle, so you're rolling this out, and you're already moving ahead with it. And the question is there a plan?
are there dollars, let me ask something, are there dollars that have been earmarked for the effort that you're discussing now, or is this on top of what's already been identified in the budget?
From my lens, this is part and parcel of the work that's just already in play. I don't think that there's anything major here that is a brand new thing in terms of a dollar figure. That this is just but to your point, Lynn, it's more about the evergreening. That's really what you're talking about. Evergreening is like keeping the sustaining.
Well,
program.
actually, we're not just sustaining, we're building. Because we just added the whole middle school this year. So it was just 8th grade, this year it's 6th through 8, and those are getting carried up. And also, we're 3 years into it, so those 3-year computers are getting retired. So again.
But it just cycles through.
No, because we went from 1 grade, and now we have, what, 5? So we're adding on, we added on 2 grades this year, right?
Yeah.
So it's growing without actually talking about how we're going to sustain it. And that's what has me worried, because you're actually developing a whole, like, we haven't talked about how, you know, what you had to do over the summer to maintain these and get these back up to, you know, standard to start at the beginning of the year. And we didn't talk about, you know, the cost that you were putting into it. And yeah, it's continuing, but it's growing. And I'm really concerned because we really haven't talked we haven't seen a plan to see how we're going to sustain what we're putting into place.
So I think probably what we need to do is probably put a section at the end of the plan that just basically shows how this, I mean, a lot of it really is just the continuation of the evergreen, because these computers just continue to cycle down, is what they continue to do, right, so.
And we'll add, I think Lynn's point of what happened this summer, because that was our first trial run of maintaining the equipment that we all asked for. So I think if it's already done and you've got your information, if you could do a report out
Yeah,
at the
okay,
next
yeah.
school committee meeting on the
We
efforts.
absolutely can do that.
And I would just add, having done this in another district, that when we talk about kind of moving to an online format, that makes us not buy 500 copies of a textbook that over time get very, very much outdated, get a lot of wear and tear,
And
that we then have to rebind every year, that also costs a lot of money.
No, that's.
And when I talk about online educational resources, those are identifying online free educational resources that don't cost money, that are available
So you're
through.
comparing text, because I really find it hard to believe that a textbook that you're now doing online doesn't have a yearly subscription rate.
It does.
So, and the school books are what, they recycle every 5 years? We update our school books about every 5 years? Has that been the cycle? Or
I think
more
it's probably
longer?
later than that, I think
Okay,
it's,
so-
yeah, I don't think it's every 5 years at all, but yeah,
But
but
you-
your point is well made.
But if you're
Yeah.
gonna compare them, I mean, you're not buying books every year, you're buying them every 5 to 7 years, yet with subscription, it's every year. So you might even be just increasing your budget just for that.
But what you're talking about now, what you've presented tonight, is in FY19's budget. There's no,
There's no additional
There's no
cost.
additional cost, I mean, those
That's right.
Chromebooks for
okay,
for
so I
students
know
have
that's
already
different than
been
what
bought.
you're asking, because you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
how, and we are moving, I think we are moving into more of a digital environment, and we talk about it every year.
But we need to know what it is and where we're going, because it is going to increase the budget in a way that we
To plan
haven't,
for.
we haven't typically looked at. And it sounds great to take the books off the kids' backs and put it on the Chromebook, but now you've just transferred it into another cost. And it could be more substantial than nine books.
So we need to see a plan, I think. I think it's a 3 to 5 year plan, and I also, one of the things I wanna raise too is, and I know that this came up with parents, is there's also like a number of textbooks in the classroom, actual physical books. And so I think we also need to hear what's the plan with that, because I know that some parents were, couple parents were concerned that they did not, their kids had tests and they wanted to bring the textbook home, but they weren't able to.
Yeah.
So like, how many textbooks are you planning on purchasing? Because it's not like we're not gonna have any physical books,
Yeah,
right?
that would not be the plan. There's
Yeah.
always a class set that is available in a classroom that a student would be able to check out, bring home, that is in conjunction with what they bring home in their Chromebook as well.
Yeah, so I
It should
think a
be good.
plan, I think what you're looking for, we're going back to the digital plan.
Yeah, we need to see
But we have to have this piece, because this is what drives it.
But you need to.
So it fits
let
into the
people
plan.
know, yeah, because this is not a small, it's not like it's a one-to-one, it's actually going to increase, because now you have to increase the people in the IT department, and in the training, and in the subscriptions. So it might not even, it's not gonna
Unless
be
you
a wash.
outsource it.
You know, because between buying the one-to-one Chromebooks, because we're gonna be buying more and more of them every year, and more of them are gonna be phased out, because there's only a certain life cycle of these computers. So it's not a wash. It is going to increase our budget specifically just for this. And it's gonna be substantial, because you're gonna be taking on people, and you're gonna be taking on,
So I think Lynn's point is well taken as far as what's the plan for outfitting the implements, and what's the plan for the support of the implement over a 3 to 5, 7 year period. Elaine, you have a question?
Well, I think the word that comes to mind is projections, like a 3 to 5 year projection, just the way you're doing a business plan, same way we talked about doing the fleet maintenance and overturning, of just being able to see like this year, this is what it would cost, and this is what it would entail, next year, this is what it costs, this is what it would entail. I think, it sounds like that's what actually Lynn's looking for.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good deal.
Okay, So let us know, I think if you can come back at the next meeting and give us an update on, oh, poor girl, the summer, Chromebook maintenance pilot, and then let us know when we're gonna see this plan, that'd be, put that on the agenda. Of course, Kathy.
Well, that was a real cough, the last time. No, just to summarize, we were set, what we had budgeted for this year is sustaining your efforts for this year.
Right.
And we had asked for a technology integration plan, and this is the first iteration of it. And as to Lynn and Elaine's point, we just need to roll it out and see what the total cost of ownership is going to be, because as you move forward, I'm not convinced that we may need more IT people. As teachers, there are teachers that could be IT people, but we need to know. And I think that there may be trade-offs in the
I would
budget
agree with you.
for other things, but we just need to know, because this initiative and this planning is long overdue. We're behind other districts, so we need to move forward, but we need to know what it's gonna cost us and how we need to plan for it, and I think that that's been addressed.
And I do appreciate, and I don't think we shouldn't acknowledge the fact that you're opening up a training to families.
Ooh,
I think that is
Outstanding.
wonderful. Instead of having people, some people are really computer literate, they have no problem with it. Others are kind of like, I'm not even sure what to do here. And so you're kind of elevating and putting everybody on a level playing field, so I appreciate that. Okay, let's move on.
Facilities, I'll get you for this up. I'm gonna not read through everything. If you take a look up on the screen in a minute here, we'll just quickly show you some of the key larger projects that happen. This is not the smaller things like painting or replacing a carpet or stuff like that. These are just some of the larger projects. And again, not gonna read through it. The summer is always, of course, an opportune time for us because if the students aren't here, so we can get into the buildings and do what we need to do. There you can see Hales. The auditorium air conditioning unit being fixed was timely for us. It cratered right at the end of last year. I won't read through all of them, thanks.
So just give us one or two from each school, because I don't know if people can
So-
see.
Yeah, so the hot water tank replacement here, for example, that we had planned on that. What we hadn't planned, if you take a look down at Lancaster, was the emergency repair to the hot water heater that went on us, I wanna say, Pat, maybe a week ago, week and a half ago, somewhere like that.
2
somewhere
weeks
around there.
before school started.
Yeah. So it stressed us a little bit, but it's fine, it's all been taken care of. Some of this work is still in progress because it's larger, like the troubleshooting, the repair of the PA system, which is long overdue in Lancaster, long overdue. Some of this is, again, the high school kind of saw, every year one of our schools seems to see a little bit more than others, and the high school probably saw the larger share of the bigger projects this year. But there were things that they needed to do. We added some parking spots at the front of the school there because parking is such an issue. We did a little bit of rerouting on the parking at the high school this year, and we added just a little bit of paving there so we could stage our buses to try to get them off that main road. So that you'll see there's a little staging area there for that as well. So that gives you a flavor. Other than that, the grounds crew just did an amazing job this summer. So there's some landscaping done. So our grounds crew did a great job. And of course, just heavy duty cleaning throughout the buildings. And I think that our custodians, I thought, just did an amazing job this year. So hats off to all of them. Any quick questions on facilities?
Smoke detector. So the Lancaster schools aren't that old, right?
Pardon?
The Lancaster schools are what, 10 years old?
I don't know.
Mayor Robinson?
I really
Because
don't know
that
off
was
the
the one
top.
just before Hale, right? No, they're older than that.
I was gonna say, I think that they're older than Hale. Hale's our newest, right? Or Center is the
Center
newest.
is-
Center's the
Center is,
newest, yeah.
No, because I'm just wondering, so maintenance-wise.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's closer towards 20 years, to be honest.
So are we starting to set up a yearly maintenance, to actually go through, because smoke detector cleaning, repair, and replacement, I mean, that sounds like it should be at all the schools.
Yeah. Lancaster has a number of larger repairs that we're gonna have to take a look at, quite frankly. I mean, we've got some doors there, that we've got some, like, some bigger things that we're gonna need to involve the town in on. Not ready to roll that out right now, but just know that we're doing a lot
But I
of
think
things.
she's asking specifically about smoke detectors in all the schools, cleaning, repair, and replacement.
I'm not sure exactly where it's at in the other buildings, to be honest with you. Pat, can you speak to that?
No, I'm not exactly sure either. I really couldn't give you that information right now, but I know that we've had some inspections in some of the buildings, and there's some ongoing repairs and things related to fire protection and whatever.
That was
We're
throughout
keeping
the
right up
summer.
to date with that.
Yeah.
Rob has been addressing a lot of issues.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm wondering about facilities maintenance on all the buildings, as far as having a schedule type thing, like
Mhm.
a typical,
Yeah.
you know, this year we're gonna do this, because,
Yeah, we do.
one of the things that worries me about Center is the, it's probably about all of them, is the filters for the units, you know, and you can tell they're dirty because they're dirty around the, you know, you see them, they coming out. And I didn't know if they ever got replaced on a regular basis, so it's like, is there a form, like, you know, we're gonna, you know, do Hale this year and Lancaster the next year and Bolton the next year, or we're gonna do them every year, I mean, is there some?
You know what, I would say, that's a really good question. To be honest with you, that probably ties into the larger picture of, if you recall, when I first came in, even our inspections were, I was thinking, as opposed to this year, like, all of our inspections are right timely, like, I mean, in terms of the fire inspections and the tank inspections, and if we've, like, I think it was the high school where we had to put a manhole, like a manway in.
Man-white.
Yeah, and that kind of thing, so, but it does tie into the broader picture. We're just in the process of still creating that, like, a full cycle for all of that
So,
kind of
but
thing.
are they starting to actually, you know, make those cycles, so they say, okay, we did Lancaster this year for fire alarm, so we need to start looking at the other schools. You know, so that they know, when you start actually saying, okay, we need a plan, at least you'll get some history.
No, I believe that that's what
Yeah,
Rob's doing.
that's what he's doing.
Yeah, that started 2 years ago. So that's what I'm saying, it's part of the bigger picture, to be honest with you. But, no, it's a point well taken. The fire alarms, just so you know, I mean, all of that kind of stuff was ongoing throughout this summer in all of our buildings.
Okay.
So, and I'd like to point out that Stowe was saying to us that they felt that it was the cleanest they've ever seen their buildings in 25 years, he said, so we were thrilled with that.
Yeah, who's been there 25 years?
I don't know, I have no idea who it was, to be honest with you, but I know that he wanted to know what type of wax we used in our floors. So that's those facilities. If we can go quickly to the safety mini update, I'm just gonna go quickly through this, broader picture. I think maybe it was Linda that brought it up or something, maybe it was Lorraine who said about the broader picture about safety. I went through this very quickly with our staff the other day as well, so you're really getting the exact same slide that we used with staff the other day. So I'm gonna go super quickly through this. So I remember I said that we had 3 foci this year for our school district, and safety is the second foci. So the trainings, like that's gonna continue to be ongoing. You heard me talk about staff, but you know that we've got students in the back of our mind. We've got parents right forefront, you know, in the month of September. Our drills, right now, we're gonna keep the traditional drills for students, just like we've always had them, the stay in place, the lockdown, the fire drills, all that. But we are gonna front load them, so they're all pretty much in the early part of the year, like September, October type thing, rather than the traditional way of rolling it out. MERP, what we came to realize this summer is that our medical emergency response plans that we've been submitting to the DESE were out of compliance and certainly out of date. And so we've spent a lot of time this summer pulling that together. We will resubmit brand new MERP plans this year. As well, the flip charts has been a huge undertaking. Donna Lindstrom, when she was here, started to do some amazing work with the flip charts. Lisa came to me about midsummer and said, these are the flip charts. I think that they're supposed to be ready for publication, but I quickly realized that they were not ready for publication.
I don't think people understand, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Let me go. A flip
chart?
chart is something that every teacher has in like the right-hand desk drawer, that you can open it up and it says bomb threat. Here's what I do.
Oh.
You know, student death. Here's what I do. Like this, no, it's in there.
Okay.
All those things are in there. And so, and it follows a statewide plan. And so, but ours is not as nicely as aligned right now to the state plan as it needs to be, but it will be. And so.
So does that need to go through policy?
No, it's not policy at all. It actually will go through our emergency medical, or emergency response task force. So it will, and it's been a separate entity for the last 2 years, and it will go through that group and then come forward. And so it's really laid out more by the state than something that we would do internally.
So that wouldn't be through MASC policy?
It's not MASC, no, not at all.
So MASC wouldn't be involved in that? I mean, I would think the state would go hand in hand with.
Oh, I don't think MASC
That's not this kind
would
of-
supersede the state on that kind of effort.
Well, I wouldn't think they'd supersede anything, but they're laying out policies that we follow.
These are policies though, this is specific, like, these are the directions. Pardon me?
The recommendations?
A bit above recommendation, it's not mandated, but this is what you should all have in your schools, so. So that's a flip chart, crisis plan will come out of that. And facilities and technology, you know that we've been working very closely on that, and I would say again, and I said to the staff the other day that our IT folks have been doing, and have worked very closely with our police department, so our cameras are all interconnected now with our police departments. In case of an emergency, we also this year made sure, and I believe I may have said this before, but if not, all of our police across the district have the capacity to get into all of our buildings. So if something happens in Stowe, our Lancaster police can come over and get right into the gate instant access to our buildings. So it's really part of tying all of the 3 communities together for crisis situations.
So with the camera wise, we've made them all typical and not, we just mix and match, right?
We took some, no, I know exactly what she's talking about. We do have some mix and match, and actually what we did was we had to make some adjustments on some of those mix and matches so that it could tie in.
Okay.
So those mix and matches now, even though they're still a different name, still tie in.
So somebody coordinated all that way?
Yes, we did,
Okay.
yeah.
You're getting some good answers tonight.
It was,
A lot of questions you've had over the years.
so I feel very good about where we're at with all of this. I think as a district, we're in a great place. So that's safety. So Todd, do you wanna do a super quick on the communication? We're coming down, only 3 left, folks.
It's all right, it's a lot of good information.
So in terms of communication, that's obviously a priority. Myself and a few principals at the beginning of the summer met with Jay Stewart from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, where he had given us some recommendations based upon survey results, communication survey results. We met with him to kind of determine which recommendations we could really kind of latch onto and sink our teeth into. One of them specifically was around targeted district communication platforms, and particularly our websites, in terms of looking at where the most traffic comes from. So what we did was kind of roll out a plan to the administrative team to kind of identify a purpose here and what the purpose of our communication is. And then we identified 3 communication areas that we thought were really paramount, one being around parent and family engagement, also communication internally and how we do that, and then around media and communication relations as it relates to our website, as it relates to Twitter, and all those kinds of things. And then we identified really 3 areas that we think we need to focus on: clarity, consistency, and then accountability, and having accountability for that. We talked specifically about the website and clarity around the website. We've already been working all summer long at really cleaning up a lot of old information that's been on there that's outdated, and we've been doing that. Cindy Larson and I have worked in that in October we really want to take a look at, potentially new website formats that might be brighter, clearer, less is more, and really talking with each of the principals in terms of really having consistency on each one of their websites, because that's really important. We also talked about, when you go onto the staff page, that we should have consistency around staff photographs. Maybe there should just be the name and the information versus, a photograph of a rainbow or the Patriots, etc. Because if a parent goes on and sees, oh, there's my daughter's math teacher, but they don't know who their daughter's social studies teacher is, we want consistency there. So there was some agreement around that. So those 3 pieces really around clarity, consistency, and accountability were what we laid out. And then what we did too was we identified areas in parent and family engagement that we're already doing, such as open houses and conferences and newsletters, social media, handbooks, etc. Internally, same thing, email, meetings, professional development, and same thing with media and communications. And we have asked the administrative team for feedback on how we can improve in these 3 areas. So that plan is ongoing right now, but this is where we're at and what we kind of have laid out to the administration, and we're still in the process of seeking feedback on that, on how we can improve.
So I'm gonna jump in and
Yep.
ask you a couple of questions. So I can only speak for Florence Sawyer School because I'm at Florence Sawyer. But I know that there was, I don't know if there still is, a survey on how parents want to receive information. So I would ask you 2 things. One is just a question, and the other one is to urge you to do something. And the first is there consistency in the way those questions are asked? Because in the past, there wasn't. So what you're getting is, and what may work in Stowe may not work in Lancaster, but for the most part, parents kind of want the same type of information. So is there consistency in the types of questions that you're asking, and then what's being done with the data that's received? So that's something I would want to know,
Yep.
because I think that parents have opinion on what works well for them and what they would like to see. And then the other thing is, I would just really try to urge, there's so many surveys that go on in this district, and the cleanup of, do we really need a survey on this, and thoughtful about asking people's opinions, because some of the stuff that's kind of like, oh, here's another survey, people are like, oh, it's just another survey, but we really may need to hear what they have to say, and I think that kind of may be part of, what you're looking for when you're asking parents or students or community at large members. If you could include that in some of your plans.
We've had that discussion,
We have.
so.
Good,
That
great.
ties
Well,
in.
so when are you gonna give us more on this?
Later this fall, we're gonna come back and have a plan.
Yeah, we've got more already done on this. Tonight was just about giving quick, broad, we're trying really hard to be quick, broad overviews of the work that we've been working on this summer. So that was the intent, but there's more work that's been done in this area.
Okay, Kathy, what did you say?
I said Mike has a question.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. I was just wondering if there was any, if there were any communication platforms that we were advised maybe against, like these modalities are probably not preferable versus these that maybe you should incorporate.
Yeah, we asked him that.
Yeah, I would say yes to that, and you'll probably see that as we come forward. You'll see us glaringly stay away from some and go after others.
So you'll give us this, include that in your update. Okay, great. Perfect. Glenn.
And I was just wondering, all the homework that I got today from my daughter, was that all coordinated with you guys? Because it was a different format this year.
What does that have to do
Homework?
with?
No,
Well, it was just parents had to sign, and she calls it homework.
Oh no, I think what you're saying is something very different.
Okay.
So, it just depends, like, what I'm thinking you're talking about is like the free and reduced lunch or all that stuff.
Yeah.
So in essence, yes, some of it was coordinated by the principals, yes, because some of it we realized that we have to do because it's actually mandated, and, we thought we could get away by doing it way X, and we found out, no, we can only do it by way Y. And so what you got today, yes, you're absolutely right. So there were a number of things that were coordinated. We actually did the same kind of thing with our teachers this year as well. Last year we gave them a folder with everything in it as soon as they walked in. This year we're delivering that differently too. So yeah, just to be more efficient. That was a great question. I knew exactly what you're talking about. Okay, fiscal update. I'm just gonna speak really quickly on this, and I promise the residency mini update will be quick too. So, the mini update fiscally, this is just, Pat will be speaking in far greater detail, of course, next month, which comes into talk about the year end. But this is just, I think, Lynn, I was thinking more about you actually, no offense, but remember you said, but will we know if we have this number at the end of the year, right? So the answer is yes. So the answer is yes, we did, okay? So in essence, we actually ended up with approximately $650,000 from the budget. Now keep in mind, that really, we borrowed that $1 million, I wanna say this again, and we'll go into more detail in September, we had that $1 million that we really tried to fill back in. So this is trying to fill that $1 million back in, because remember, we need to turn around this year and take $800,000 out of it for the next year's budget. So always keep that in mind, that we're trying to replenish that money to the point where eventually we don't even have to do this anymore. That's the goal in the next 3 to 5 years, that we don't have to take out of that E&D and E&D can stand by itself, right?
We already know we're gonna take 800,000 out?
Yeah, it's already in the budget. You'll see, like, yeah.
We can't cut it off, because then we
You
can't
can't cut
fund
it
the
off.
budget.
Yeah, we're in no position to just cut it off. So anyway, so we have the 650,000, and then these were unanticipated revenues that we couldn't have seen coming. It was just kind of like a fluke, but here's where we landed. So we got additional Medicaid revenue. This is stuff that happens long after the budget process, right? So a lot of this stuff comes in like May, June, so you don't even see it coming in April. So Medicaid revenue is up. Chapter 70, that's something that happens probably July, August, probably more likely August of last year. There's an extra 32,000, for example, that came in there that we weren't expecting. And the
Can you
chapter,
tell people, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do this to you all the time, just because people that are listening don't understand, what is chapter 70?
Chapter 70 is the money that we get from the state, kind of like the state's subsidization of Neshoba Regional School District. And in this year, like when we went to the budget process, we had one number, and then once school all got out and the budget's finalized, which is generally kind of in July, then we actually get the real number. And sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. This year it happened to be a little bit more, and so that money's carried forward, and so that's where that money is right now. So, and then there was some additional money in bank interest, some miscellaneous revenue, but this is just a little qualifier. There was also a reduction of $48,000 in regional transportation that we hadn't counted on. So that's one of those areas where it was lower than what we were originally told in January, right? When they give us the money, right? So in essence, put all that together, we have a total of 259. So can you go to the next slide? So we borrowed $1 million from E&D. We are going to have 900,000 that we're going to be able to put back into E&D. And remember, we're looking to take 800 out for so basically we came out of this year fiscally healthy to put us in a good place for the new school year. So that's a really quick snapshot of everything. But Pat will go into more detail, of course, in September.
The transportation is one of those ones we pay forward, right?
Pardon me?
Transportation, we pay it forward, like we already have the funds for the following, is that one of those ones that we have?
No, it's
that's
not, it's not a
circuit
year.
breaker.
You're
That's
thinking of circuit
circuit
breaker.
breaker.
Circuit breaker is 1 year out, always 1 year out. So the transportation is not.
So did I read that right, we got 49,000 less?
Less than we were told when we first built the budget.
And we took it out of E&D, the reduction that we didn't?
No, it's included in that 259,000. So forget that. So basically, you've got the 650 and you've got the 250, and that's where you get the money. Okay?
Is
Awesome.
is the governor's supplemental budget included in those numbers? Because I know at the end of the year, there's extra money, and he actually put some of it into regional transportation, but I wasn't sure.
No, that's all included in there. That's all in. What this is all in now. Now, keep in mind, these numbers could still change through our audit process. So that's always one of the reasons why we're always nervous in coming to you right now. This is what we're projecting, this is what it's looking like. But remember last year, I don't know how many times you all asked, well, do we know if that's cash is free cash, or the cash is certified yet? Is it certified yet? And it wasn't, I think, till like way after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so this is what we're projecting, but we feel pretty closely confident with it.
So are we conservative enough that we won't go lower than the 909?
No, what I'm saying is, this
I
is
know
what
it
we're
can change.
projecting right now, but it can change, right, depending on the audit.
Even lower?
It could go lower, but remember, 2 months ago, we were sitting here thinking it was 600 or lower, we weren't sure.
Okay.
Right now, we're sitting at 900
909.
is what we're thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So that's it for the mini update on fiscal. The last one, and this is just talking points only, so and then I want to talk about taping for 2 seconds. Residency. I think that there are still folks out there that, whether I'm going to take a high road and say that I think sometimes they don't understand that if you do not physically live in Bolton, Stowe, or Lancaster, You cannot have your child attend our schools. And we don't have school choice right now. And I cannot tell you the number of discussions I've had this summer with parents who have tried to have their children come to our school district in this coming year who do not live here. And you can't imagine the stories that we've had, or some of the journeys we've gone through with different parents who felt for sure, and who said to us, my child is attending that school, and we said, no, they're not. So I want to put it out there that you have to live in these 3 communities to be able to attend Neshoba Regional School District. I've never seen it like it was this summer, the number of kids trying to come in.
So have we actively checked?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah, we don't wanna go too deep into this,
No, that's fine.
But you're absolutely right. And we had a number of cases that we took to DESE last year. So we were you'll recall that this game was kind of grassroots. The school committee has had this as a topic for discussion a number of times. So I wanted to just update you today to say this is where we're at. It's an issue. It was a different type of issue for me this summer though than I've had before.
and it's not fair, because there are families who really, really wanna choice their kids into
Yeah.
our district, and we've said, there's no school choice. Done.
Yeah. So that's that. The only other thing I'd say is you'll notice that we're hand taping tonight, but you'll also see, if you take a look around, we've got the addition of a 3rd camera. I had mentioned at the end of the year that we'll be doing taping differently this year, and so they ultimately will be taping from across the street, and we'll have a TV screen here that will know whether we're on air or not. So this is a tie-in with our 3 cablecasters. We're really excited about this. We want to thank our cablecasters for working so closely with us. This has been something that's been long in the process for several months, and so we just want to thank them. We're very excited about what's coming next. So yeah, and that's
Nick.
it.
And it's Nick, right?
Yeah.
And Nick Kissich is on the camera tonight. Hi, Nick Kissich.
So that's it. I know it's long, and I'm sorry, but I did say to Lorraine at the front, it's going to be a night of dissemination of information, because just so much happens in the summer, and we're trying to just give you the snapshot.
I think it was a fantastic update,
Oh, thank
and
you.
I think, it's important for people to understand the work that's happening, but I think we're also gonna be a little more aware. It's like, we have a tendency to talk about things that folks in the community might not understand. So we'll continue to say, what does that mean?
What does that stand for, that
What does
acronym?
Yeah. So we can kind of, as our, part of our communication effort to help people understand more. Okay, so we're moving on
We
into
are.
new business.
And I'm gonna have Anne Marie, if you can take the honor of introducing our new extended day coordinator. We're very excited to have her on board.
It's my honor so to do. This is Raina Rago. Raina came to the top of our selection process. It included 34, I think, 31 or 35, I've forgotten, applicants. We interviewed a good number, and we were really, really impressed with Raina's enthusiasm, with her level of articulation of her thoughts, and with her experience, most recently in the Marlborough Public Schools as their communication lead. She was it was like a public relations type position within the school district, if I'm characterizing that correctly. So it's my great privilege to introduce to you Ms. Raina Rago.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I really do appreciate being here. It's an honor. And in the interest of time, since I know that we are short on time, I'm going to use my notes to keep me focused. I just want to say that since joining 2 short weeks ago, it seems like I've been here longer because I adore the people. I've come to know some wonderful staff. It has been a whirlwind, but I was welcomed at the retreat day 1, and I was exposed to some very powerful messaging from Superintendent Clenchey on empowerment and innovation. That was important for me to hear, because I think to be a leader and to make change happen, that we as staff need to be empowered, not just engage. And I would extend that certainly to the individuals that I work with, and they in turn would inspire their students. So as part of the extended learning group, and I say extended learning, not extended day, it's a process, and it goes well beyond morning to day. It's a process. that I feel inspired, and I haven't finished the Innovator's Mindset book, because I just got it, but I'm excited by what I'm learning. I'll spend just a few minutes telling you about my background. 15 years I spent in corporate communications, Marcom for private industry, for Bose and a few other companies, and learned a lot about how to see the big picture and how to implement plans that cross many strategic business units. So that was a wonderful background. And then children came along and I became interested in education. Got my master's at Lesley and was in the classroom. You cannot count these numbers, okay? I was in the classroom for 14 years as a middle school and high school English teacher, most of which was spent at Advanced Math Science Academy Charter School. I share that piece of information with you because in that realm you do a lot for a school district that's of that kind, which included after-school programs that I implemented, as well as the mentoring program and professional development. So it gave me a really broad perspective on grades 6 through 12 primarily. Most recently, I was at the Marlboro Public Schools as a communications lead, both internal and external communications. And I worked very closely to launch our digital platform, which was brand new to our district through Blackboard. It was a mobile app, a new website, and School Messenger. What was helpful for me as a learner was I got to see 7 different schools running in many different directions, and really, to Todd's point, how to make things consistent so that our families, our parents came to trust us more and understand, especially if they have children in multiple schools. So I'm aware of that tendency to, schools want to be personal in their approach, but there has to be an umbrella or a branding effort. So I bring that perspective to my new role here. New role, I am the Extended Learning Enrichment Coordinator. I am trying to break the title of Extended Day because I think that's a misnomer and it doesn't represent what this program is, which is, I believe, to address the whole child. I'm passionate about addressing children's emotional and behavioral needs. I am certainly wanting to connect with the academic side of the equation. They're all important. So as I build relationships with staff, students, and families, my goal is to always think about the whole child. And I've written articles on that. If you want to look it up, I'll let you know where to find them. In any case, I'm also very excited. I'm really, really excited about engaging students to extend their learning beyond the classroom. It's not to replace it, it's to make connections. So in order for me to do that effectively, I really need to get to know the principals. And so I'm going to be spending time at the buildings. So if you're looking for me, I'm somewhere. But I'm going to be visiting every site on a regular basis. I want our programs to be meaningful and relevant. Not to say that there can be programs that are one-day workshops or whatever, because sometimes those are really important. They just spark an interest. They light a fire. But I'm hoping that I can be cognizant of opportunities that students might not otherwise have, on the softer skill side, so that they can say, gee, I never thought about being, doing robotics, or I never thought about being an engineer, or I never thought about cooking, or whatever it might be. So soft skills, I think, for 21st century citizens is very important. So I'm right now kind of taking my kaleidoscope, and I find that it to be my metaphor now, a kaleidoscope of enrichment. What is going to be most appropriate for what schools for what age? I'm very well aware that the middle school is in need of and desiring some opportunities. That I'm well aware of. Superintendent Clench and I spoke at great length about, well, not great length, but at length.
Was it length?
About the importance of that. I have that commitment, but I also want to couch it by saying that I want to do it thoughtfully. Probably late fall for a pilot of some sort, and then opening it up further into the spring. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here. I just have so much to do. But my first priority is working closely with the staff. Staffing, relationships with the staff that I work with is so important. I visited a couple of the sites today, and when I see the parents come in and feeling comfortable, and they're greeted by the staff by first name, and the students are, look happy. They look relaxed. They looked a little hot, but they were overall very happy. That pleased me to no end. So we are in full throttle. I can assure you, give me time. I'm going to be updating. In fact, my first call of action today was to update the staff directory for extended learning and use the name learning, So you'll be seeing changes, and, feel free to call me if you have suggestions, pick up the phone, email me. I'm a communications person,
So that's good, because as a communications person, we're looking forward to your first report. Because you've got 3 on this committee that are communications people, so welcome.
Thank you. If there's any questions at this time or not, because I'm feeling that I was
Go
supposed
ahead,
to be.
Lynn.
I was like
Meet Lynn.
I was like 5 minutes, but I condensed it.
I realize you've only been here 2 weeks.
Yes.
But even though it's extended learning, a lot of parents depend on it. So what are they going to see? Is it still, everything's still working normally?
Yes, we have, we're almost at full staffing at this point for all the sites. Our staffing is weak in a couple areas, which I'm trying to bolster. We have a wait list at some of the sites, but what I'm seeing literally almost every hour, is where things change. So at this point, I'm shifting gears as effectively as I can so that we can allow more families to participate.
So as of today, there is some
Absolutely.
place for the kids to go after school if they need to?
Absolutely, yeah, every school. And of course, we have Hales, so the 4th and 5th graders that come from center, so I even know all the names now. And I will say that we have had some interest from some of our high school students, which I'm very happy about. I think that offers them a leadership mentoring opportunity. I'd like to see more of that where it makes sense. So at this point, I feel like I'm 90% with the staffing, and I want to say 100% by the time I see you next time.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
the parents knew that they had.
Oh, yeah, we've been on the website. Yeah, we've been busy.
Yeah, I just want to say too how much I appreciate. I know I watched you working with your group the other day on leadership, which I'm very appreciative of. So and I'm also very appreciative of what you're bringing to the table here tonight. So we're just so pleased to have you as part of our team, and I think we've shared that with you already.
I was
so.
gonna bring some hats today and wear different outfits. Bob said that might be a little bit.
You can show us that. You can show us that in your work.
Needing to.
We'll be looking forward to seeing it. But
Rena, thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Staff professional development update.
We're now, come on forward here. Martina Kenyon, Cindy Larson, and Todd McGuire. Now we're gonna see if we can, so here we are again. We're gonna have to do this kind of quickly, as you all know, but we'll try to get through it. The flavor that we wanted to give you tonight is, I know that most of you know this, but sometimes folks forget or don't realize that we run staff development through the summer as well. And so this is kind of a bit of a review of some of the work that was done since we've last seen you, and a bit of a direction of where we're headed. And Martina, I just want to say you did a great job the other day at our first day back doing this. I just really appreciated that, so thank you very much. So Todd, we'll turn it over to you to start.
Sure.
First of all, this is Claire. I apologize. Actually,
It was working up, it was acting up at the retreat too.
okay.
There we go.
It's just a little delayed.
So I know the 3 of us met to put together, the workshops that were offered over the summer, as well as the curriculum development topics that were offered over the summer. And I think you guys probably want to speak to that first, because you guys set that up before my arrival, so.
And I think we want to, I know that you already know this, but I don't think we need to read through all of them, but just some broad, a quick broad overview. Yeah, quick broad overview.
So I'll start off. So you can see that we divide our summer academy into 2 categories, workshops and curriculum development. And our workshops could be face-to-face, online, or they could be a hybrid or a combination of both. We use inside presenters as well as outside presenters. It all depends on the topic and the availability of people. For our curriculum development, we encourage all of our educators to work in teams when they're developing curriculum. We also require that they use our common online repository for curriculum, so that all of our educators have access to all of the curriculum, and that helps us strengthen building common learning experiences for our students across the district. So this summer, we had approximately 150 participants in the workshops that you see up there, and we had 40 more that opted to do some curriculum development over the summer. Some of these courses in curriculum development happen in a few days, and some of them last the whole summer through. So just want to highlight two of them that were very well attended. First one, Mathematical Mindsets. That was a self-paced online course, just ended on this past Monday. It was developed by a Stanford professor, Joel Bowler, who researches a lot on the brain. And interestingly enough, this workshop was about how your brain learns when we make mathematical errors. So this was something that was open to all K through 12 math teachers, and I think they were really intrigued because it was very well attended and it did get good reviews. But it also supports our district improvement plan goal of co-teaching in the math classroom. So the other one that was well attended was the Innovators Mindset book study. This course was also online and lasted all summer. It was self-paced, but it was also had an element of collaboration. We used Google Classroom for that, so participants had their assignments posted on Google Classroom, and they were sharing inside of that venue. But they were also required to share with authentic audiences. So if you didn't have a Twitter account, you needed to create a Twitter account, and you needed to share your learning, share questions, and share products that they made during the book study on Twitter. And we used the hashtag Innovators Mindset Neshoba if you wanted to look that up. And that also went with our goal for the year of empowering student learning experiences. So 2 examples of curriculum development topics. We're really happy to tell you that our K through 8 health and wellness educators were able to work this summer to continue to update their curriculum around social and emotional learning, which is also a goal in the DIP plan. And they cover different topics such as advocating for others, self-esteem, decision-making, substance abuse, those types of things. So that went really well, and those educators they're awesome. They really work hard. And of course, that supports our goals around social and emotional learning. Another example is the science lessons using Pear Deck. That's a new science curriculum that was created in Pear Deck. Now, so Pear Deck is a software that we use. It's beginning to take on more. Not every educator uses it, but it's interactive for instruction and as well as assessment. And so that went very well, and it helps empower student learning experiences, and of course, it goes with our goal for effective uses of technology in the classroom. So following all of our professional development, whether it's summer academy or during the year, we always collect feedback. And we use that feedback to help us prepare and plan for all of our future professional development. One point of the feedback that we collect is an overall satisfaction rate. We strive for 100% excellent. Responses are still coming in because some of them, like I said, are just ended at the top of this week. And but we're very happy to report at this time right now that we have 0 for fair and poor. So we think we're doing pretty good. And so right now I'm going to pass this over to Martina, who's going to start with another piece of informative feedback that we received from our educators.
So we just wanted to give you a little bit more of the picture, a big picture here, of the key takeaways that some of our participants shared with us through the feedback, and also in general their feedback on the experience. We thought that was important as pure evidence of kind of what people were taking out of their experiences. So I'm not going to read all of these, and I think they might be a little bit different. Actually, no, okay, you got the updated version, so that's fantastic. So just to highlight a couple, in the bottom left, I learned that anyone at any age can learn math or anything and grow their brain. That refers to the workshop that Cindy just described a little bit of. Sort of more broadly, I found the techniques to be very interesting, and I can't wait to implement them in my classroom, top left. I think it's something that we really consider as we're planning all of the professional development. We consider how do we support the implementation of these strategies with students. I know that sounds a little bit obvious, but actually a classic challenge with professional development is that people leave those sessions really excited about what they're gonna do, and then you don't actually see it in practice, and we've talked a lot about how do you push everybody forward. So in our planning of this session, of this series of sessions, we've considered and done the work of connecting additional PDPs to lesson plans, classroom implementation and reflection. We love when teachers keep us in the loop on the strategies that they're using. They're really happy to share them, and we love the opportunity to visit and see those in action. We also considered that as we were planning our PD for this current school year, so that's a big snapshot of our plan for this year. The overall theme, as was already mentioned, is empowering student learning experiences. Through the Kuros book, we've really started to think more deeply about how we can support the shift between lesson planning and just planning for engagement to planning for student empowerment and what that actually looks like. We've talked in this group already about, in this age of lots of information, how do we support students and staff to use it responsibly, and also how do we empower them to do more with that information. And we think it's critical for our professional development to also support students and staff to be connected, be innovative, and really know how to leverage resources to create new ideas that we want to see and solve problems that we want to see happening. So we're looking forward to that continuing this year. So just a very brief overview of the schedule. You've already heard about our experiences the last 2 days with the ALICE training, obviously connected to our district improvement plan with the consistent safety protocols. But going through that experience, it was really interesting to see its direct connection to empowerment of staff in terms of how they're using information. It was a great connection there too. In September, most of our activities will be building-based. However, Todd already shared that we're going to have some professional development around the one-to-one expansion, and really start to have some specific professional development to help support staff to think about how that ongoing access to technology can transform their teaching and transform the student experiences in the classroom. So we're excited about that. And then in October through April, we'll really dive into that theme of empowering learning. Some staff, the elementary staff for the most part, will participate in that ongoing literacy professional development that we started last year. So directly connected to empowering learning because of the choices in reading, choices in writing, and personalized learning for students through that workshop model. And all other staff will have a choice amongst the topics that you see on the top right, which include accountable talk, that's about student-led discourse, an innovator's mindset book study similar to what Cindy described this summer, student-centered inquiry that includes that media literacy that we just were talking about as well. And we really felt it was important to leverage some of what we learned through the innovator's mindset too, to model the structure around what we want to see in the classroom and just in our work with students. Having participants collaborate to research the topic that they choose, come up with their own problem of practice, create a plan and actually have time to implement it with students, bring it back to their groups and revise it before sharing it out. So we're excited about that. We'll round up the year in May with vertical transition planning, which is a great addition to.
And March 8th.
And March 8th, thank you. And our
Lest we
big,
forget, March 8th.
and our big key event. So March 8th is our full professional development day, and we're so excited to have George Burroughs, the author of the Innovator's Mindset, coming to present a keynote and also a couple smaller workshops. So we're just so looking forward to hearing from him in person, obviously, and looking forward to learning even more from him. So.
You know what I found interesting in our administrative retreat was the number of folks, like I know Pat, you came up and talked about your takeaway from the book, you know, and how it related to your work, and Tom Poole came and spoke about how he saw it relating to the food service, and it, you know, so it's very exciting to see this work. You can literally start to see it coming forward, so it's very exciting. So thank you so much. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I think it's really impressive. So for a number of years, Lynn, I think you're the only one, Kathy, a little bit, but we're the only one that's been here as long as I have. And it was like, what are we doing? What is it? And poor Cindy would try to turn herself inside out. Fast forward to where we are today, there's a common theme, everything plays into it, everyone's focused in the same area, but they're identifying what it is and implementing it into their world. I love what you said about, you know, how do you take this and put it into action? Because it's only as good as the output to the students, right? And the impact on the students. So really impressed. Thank you so much, Kathy.
One of the things I recall early on when I came on, and even before that, was out in the ether, that teachers were feeling initiative fatigue. And I know that was something that we raised with Brooke when we were, you know, interviewing the superintendent. But this sounds like these things energize people. And that's the difference between having something that everybody has to do, no questions asked, and giving people choice and a framework for how it's going to make a difference for kids, but also for one's own professional life and collegial life as well. So kudos. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Very
guys.
exciting, thanks.
Okay, we're gonna move quickly into
Our extended school year. So Joan DeAngelis and Steve Grant are gonna speak to us about this. I think just for the purpose of our community that's watching too, I think we might wanna give a broad overview of what the extended school year is. I know, Joan, we made a lot of changes last year, and Steve, I said to Joan the other day, how we survived that, and I feel very, very good about where we are this summer. So I think we've done, you both have just done some amazing work in this area. And Steve, you're so dedicated to the program. You're there every day, you're always around, you have that great attitude that you bring forward to it. Just so appreciative of the work that you do to tie it all together.
Thank you.
So Joan, we'll look to you to start this, and then we'll turn it over to Steve to kind of wrap it up.
Thanks for having Steve and I come to talk about extended school year. We're happy to be here to present kind of the work that we do over the 24 days in the summer that we work with students. Extended school year is services that we provide beyond the traditional school year for students. And it's students with disabilities that we provide special education or related services to ensure they receive a free and appropriate public education. So during the school year, all students that are on an individual education program, we are required to look at their disabilities and regression data. So it doesn't really matter what the disability is, we have to look at regression when students are away from instruction. So these services are determined by an IEP team, and one of the things that Steve and I have really worked hard on is data collection. We really put an authentic practice in place to work together to really say, we need to really look at students' IEP goals individually. We need to collect data when students are away. So if we're away during December break and we have 7 days off, if a student regresses and doesn't recoup those skills in a 7 instructional day period, then we're saying they've regressed. So we're looking at reading skills or math skills or counseling services. So we're authentically now collecting data across all the breaks in instruction to drive decision-making that's authentic, so that when we come to the table at an annual review meeting, we're talking with parents about the data that we've collected and what services we feel like we need to continue during the summer in order to support them and so they don't regress over the period, the long summer break.
Good.
So I'm going to leave it to you to talk a little bit about the program and what happens in the summer.
So we have a variety of services that we offer on any one day. We have some students that will come in and just do some academic work in the learning lab. And that would be either reading, writing, mathematics, maybe a combination of those. And then additional to that, you have students that will come in for related services that might be physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, counseling. And then you have some students that might have a variety of some of the academics and some of the related services, depending upon what their IEP states. Additional to that is we have our specialized programming in the form of students that are tethered to specific programming and programs throughout the district. So with our preschool students, we have our Little Links program, and then the programs work their way up to high school transitions for our students who are 18 and with us until they turn 22. And in between, we have Links 1 and Links 2, junior life skills, and transitions. We added a program this summer for the first time when we added our Early Riser program at Florence Sawyer School. We were able to offer an Early Rise model where some of those students were able to come for the summer as well, which was a new program for us, and it gave them the opportunity to come, work with staff, and continue to work on the skills related to their IEPs. We have each week generally a theme, particularly with the younger students, where we try very hard to connect the outside world to the work that we're doing. So we have people in our community. So the Lancaster Police and Fire Department will come and work with the students, and the students get to interact with the departments and play on the equipment and go in the ambulance and go in the police car, and they really enjoy that. And I think the staff, I think the Lancaster PD and Fire Department look like coming as much as they love it. Can we stay longer? It's time for the kids to go home. So, we have Animal Adventures. They've been coming for a number of years, and that's quite an interesting theme that we have because it's very therapeutic. They bring lots of animals, and the kids get to interact with the animals. And I've noticed over time, since I've been the coordinator over 7 summers, where some students, when they first started with me, would be very afraid of the animals, but over time, the same students that are with us for a number of years, grow into being able to take risks and interact with the animals, and it's quite nice to see. We offer other themes. Weekly, we do a health and wellness theme, and we bring in a yoga specialist, and again, very therapeutic. She does great work with students. She's been with us for a long, long time, so she knows the population well. And there's lots of, relaxation techniques and yoga poses and different things that we do together, and it's a really good calming activity for our students. It's very nice to watch over time. We have also a number of experiences for our older students where they get to go out into the community and work on the work sites, and it's typical to what they might be doing during the school year, where they go to different companies, restaurants, different places, central office, and they get to work those sites. And Meals on Wheels. We have one student that's in our transitions program, where her job site is actually working in the Little Links classroom. So we really personalize it because we know the students very well, and all of this is recommended at the team meeting, and then I just put everything in place, throughout the summer. So I've seen it evolve over time. Wow, I didn't know that was going to be something we'd recommend, and then sure enough, there's always an evolution to the work that we do with a lot of our students that continue to come each summer. With the social experiences, we've been able to even get some of our younger students out into the community. We were able to get the fan van from the high school the last couple of summers, and we have our Links 1 and our Links 2 students who will go out and go blueberry picking. We'll go to the library and just do some fun field trip type activities, which is fantastic. They really seem to enjoy, those opportunities each summer with staff. And I didn't put staff on here, but I should note that we really have a dedicated group of staff that come each summer. In some cases, it's the teacher of record during the year, and they just want to continue with those students in the summer. Sometimes it's, it might be a staff member from another building that enjoys working in summer, wants to increase their skill set, work closely with a group of students that they might not normally work with during the year. And then in a few cases, we have some external hires, and we've had them for the last couple of summers now, and they've been really nice in bringing in some fresh air and looking at kids they've not seen before and worked with, but it's noted by the instructional assistants that may be in those classes, wow, this teacher really was able to bring some new things to programming it's good feedback that we get. So we have a nice mixture of students and staff. In volunteerism, we've noted that too. That's something that I've been working very closely with Mrs. DeAngelis on for a couple of years now, where we've been able to bring in students that I may not know at all, because they're at the high school and they're part of National Honor Society and they want to get some community service hours. And it's sort of evolved over time to that of students that may need a boost to get back in school or be connected to school or be in a safe environment where they can work with students that are much younger than them and no one else maybe perhaps in their peer group is present, and they just get to be themselves with younger kids. And that's really, really been something that we've seen positive effects with over the last couple of years. And every single parent of the students that volunteer, I'm in close contact with. And I call them before we start, I call them when it's over, I email in between, and the emails that they're sending me about what it's doing and the changes and the conversations they're having at home and the inspiration of maybe wanting to go into public service and go to school and become a special education teacher or something like that. So it has a lot of other benefits that, again, being the steward of the program over a long period of time, I get to cultivate those relationships and I get to, bring out the best in everybody. And it's a very special time. We love it. It's a very, it can be challenging at times. We have students with very unique learning profiles, and there's a lot of care and time that gets put into those, the planning to help support them. And as Mrs. DeAngelis said, we're just trying to maintain skills. We want them coming back in the fall, how they left us in June. There's something to be said for getting them up, getting them to school, getting them engaged with their peers, being in a morning meeting, being out in the job sites, and just keeping things fresh so when they have time off when school gets out before we start, which is about 10 days, and time after summer school starts before we start up in earnest as a district, about another 10 to 12 days. There's that pockets of time where they can have their vacations and be with their families, but they're doing the work that's required, what is recommended at the team meeting level, where we keep things where we like them to be, so when they come back, they can continue to move forward. And the data, I sent out those emails today because it's the first day of school and the teachers expect them. They'll spend now the next few weeks collecting data so we can determine if kids are regressing. We'll have students that won't come to summer school, they'll decline services. And again, it's a chance for us to get a sense of who's coming, tracking them, how they're doing, and what the regression looks like, so we can personalize.
So Steve, I'm just gonna
And that's
wrap. I know you're ready to wrap up, but a couple of quick thoughts. Again, I think you both have done an amazing job. I know that we did a lot. We've made some nice, substantial changes. I know, Steve, that I've seen some of those email flows back and forth, communications between the parents and you this summer. Amazing. I've seen some of the pictures that just melt my heart, and that kind of came through all summer long to me. And I think the volunteerism that you're talking about with our students that are going in now for 2 summers that I know of to help has been in some ways life-changing. I can tell you with all sense of genuineness, life-changing for a couple of those kids. So it's just been an incredible program, and I love the passion that you both speak with when you talk about this program.
I love the pride that is all over your face, because Steve, I've known you a long time.
Very long. As a mom first.
And I'm always a mom first. But I remember you talking about how much but I never understood exactly what it was until you articulated it tonight.
Thank you.
So I'm not going to say this because I'm going to get shot, but I would love if you could just replicate that everywhere. That's amazing. Just the pride that you have, the influence that it has on kids who really need it at different levels. I love it. So thank you for that. And
And-
Joan, thanks for all your efforts, as always.
I think Steve too, and your demeanor is just wonderful for this too. And I think too, I want to just refresh everyone's memory, Steve Grant is now the assistant
I know.
principal at Luther Burbank, and we are just thrilled to have him there. So, so we thank you for that too.
I'm very appreciative of the chance to continue to work in our district and work in a different template and transfer those skills over and now grow those skills out, you know, with my new boss or a friend. And I'm a Lancaster man now. I've been in Bolton for 26 years, so I hope I'm there for a long time. I really like Lancaster a lot.
Well, we're thrilled to have you there. Thanks. Joan, as always, we thank you for your work. You're just a rock star with us. Thank you so much. Thank you to you both.
Oh, that felt good. Okay.
So I think, Pat, you're gonna come up and talk to
We
us
have a
about some
center
donations.
school donation from the Stowe Friends of Music and PTO. The memo is in your packet. So, Pat, why don't you tell us, obviously we can read it, and basically it's just,
Basically, we have a donation, actually two donations that have been made to the center school. One is from the Stowe Friends of Music for $2,357. Another one is from the Stowe PTO for $2,357. And this is for risers for the chorus at the center school. And in addition to the funds that they received as a donation, there was money in the budget to fund some of it as well. So they're going to purchase the risers for about $9,200. And Principal Mulcairn would like your consideration that we accept, and that you accept this donation.
so we need someone to move. Go ahead.
I move that we accept the donation that totals $9,214.
No, you gotta do each one individually
Okay.
because the school's taking care of that.
Oh, all right. So I move that we accept the donation from the Stowe Friends of Music for $2,357 and the donation from the Stowe PTO for $2,357 for the purchase of chorus risers
Second.
at the center school.
Thank you.
Second.
Steve will second. Anybody have any questions? All those in favor? Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you, Stowe Friends of Music and Stowe PTO. Okay, and now we've got the Neshoba Regional High School endowment final grant approvals. I have a feeling you're gonna get some questions on this because there are some questions, but we'll let you present what you
The Neshoba Regional High School Endowment Fund is dissolving. I'm not exactly sure how long it's been in existence, but I know it's been quite a while. And in doing so, basically this fund was used to supplement teachers' supplies, different wants and needs. It may not have been in the budget, and the endowment fund has been able to provide these extras at no cost to the district. So there's a list here, and it's approximately $9,800, which is the remainder of the funds that they have in their endowment. They're dissolving it. So we're requesting that we accept this donation from the NRHS Endowment Fund.
So I have some questions for you. So what's the total number for the motion? The total amount?
$9,771.
$9,771. And this is a parent-run organization.
Yes, it is.
And I think there was some kind of, it's gonna be a loss, so I'm hoping that at some point this can be revived. I don't know how that would happen, but it's gonna be a big loss. And I think that the people that have worked on it for a long time.
And worked very hard.
Right.
And I think been a very committed group, very dedicated to the high school.
So, we need someone to move the school committee accepting the $9,771 from the NRHS endowment fund balance.
Can you still ask questions after you do that?
Yep. I need a second.
Who moved it?
Oh, who's gonna move that?
I will.
Thanks, Steve. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay, questions?
Okay, so there's $9,771 that teachers have been using for supplemental or whatever. Where is this money going? Is it just gonna get absorbed somewhere?
No, this is where it's going, and the details in the spreadsheet.
So they've spent all the money?
So I think what happened was they were asked who wants what do you need? And then they got all the requests in, and the endowment committee said, okay, we're gonna give this one this, we're gonna give this one this, we're gonna give this one this,
And it's
and
not-
zero out the balance.
So it's zero?
Right.
Okay, so we're not accepting the donation, we're.
Well, we are.
Well, there's
We
no
are,
accept-
because we'll take in revenue of $9,771, and then we'll,
It's not dollars, it's not like cash, it's,
It's a one-time acceptance, right?
Well,
but it's
Yeah.
stuff, and
But I guess the confusion that I have is we never accepted them giving out money before.
yes, we
yes,
did.
we have,
Right, so every time they say,
since,
all right,
since I,
I think this has been an annual thing
Okay.
then every
Yeah,
year.
okay.
okay. Anybody else have a question? All those in favor? It's unanimous and passes, thank you very much, Pat. MRE Nature's Classroom trip approval.
Want me to do it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You're right there.
Principal Shea is requesting permission for the Mary Rowlandson fifth grade students to attend a one-week Nature's Classroom. This will happen on September 17th to the 21st. They spend a week at Nature's Classroom in Ocean Park, Maine, and it's a long-standing program for MRE going back 25 years, and is a valuable academic and social learning experience for the fifth grade students. And he is requesting your consideration.
You wanna move this?
I move that we have permission for the Mary Rowlandson fifth grade students to attend a week at Nature's Classroom in Ocean Park, Maine, from September 17th to the 21st.
Awesome. Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Elaine, any questions? All those in favor? It's unanimous and passes. Thank you very much, Pat, that was quick. Alrighty then, the next item is the central office organizational chart. So this was a request from last year, and Superintendent Clancy said that she would do it at the first meeting, and so here we are. It's in your packet. This is, I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you speak to it.
Sure. So quite frankly, there really isn't a lot of difference in terms of the positions. The positions are still all the positions, it's just how they were kind of juggled so that they will fall in part under the assistant superintendent versus the superintendent. So if you think back to past administration, how that broke down, this is quite different. And so it's basically exactly what we've said we would do all the way along. So if you take a look at the assistant superintendent position, for example, you see that it's pretty much the academic component, the teaching and learning, the instruction. The technology will now fall under him as well. And if you take a look down below under school administration still comes under the superintendent, but there's a leader right underneath that with the executive assistant. See, that line goes straight up to the assistant superintendent because she supports both of us, so that's a conjoined line. Underneath the coordinator, if you take a look at the very bottom slot underneath the assistant superintendent, the coordinator of extended learning, our new coordinator of extended learning, would fall obviously now under Todd because it's all joined with the academic. So you should see a really nice trend here for what continues to fall under the superintendent as opposed to what will fall under the assistant superintendent. So under the superintendent will remain the pupil personnel services, and so if you were to look at your old org chart, it's still like almost identical. The business and operations will continue under there, the human resources will continue under there, the facilities will continue under that. And the school administrators and principals will fall under the superintendent. And then when you look at Todd's component, it's really the academic component. So that's where it sits right now. There are no new positions that are under there. These are all the same positions you've had all along. Do you have any questions on what you see up there?
Do we have other new personnel besides Ms. Rachel, who's here, like, we have a new early childhood coordinator, right?
Yes, you do.
Is it?
Jen DeCapa, yeah,
Jen Decato.
Jen DeCato is that new, and I think those are the only, Anne Marie, is that right? I think those are the
And
only
Todd,
two.
yes.
And of course Todd, yeah. I'm forgetting about Todd.
No, we don't want to forget Todd.
Great question, Lee.
Okay? All right, thank you for doing that. I'm gonna do a time check, folks, because believe it or not, we've made up quite a bit of time. However, I'd like to move the accountability system update because it is going to take a little bit of time to the next meeting, because I want to allow the committee to have their opportunity to ask questions. I think there will be a lot of questions. Are you guys okay with that?
Sure.
You guys okay with that?
I'll probably also have more
More
information
information
from
by
Desi at that point.
Perfect,
Especially with
perfect.
the email we got today.
Yes.
A week delayed out from more information we were supposed to get, so that probably makes a lot of sense.
Perfect, thank you. So we'll move that one. How about if we do the HR update?
Sure.
Anne Marie,
Anne
how
Marie's
do you
prepared
feel
to
about
do
that?
Wonderful.
I think that puts us back on track and doesn't hurry the discussion along. I want to make sure we have enough time to ask questions.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to present this start of year update from the Human Resources Office. Since we were last together, of course, our big summer, summer's our hiring season. Yeah, summer is our busiest time, and when we do what I consider to be some of our most important work. I've become convinced over the years that one of the most important things we do in the hiring office and in the district really is to select well. That hiring the right people is one of the best things that we can do to improve student achievement. And we're really pleased that we're able to have some part in that. The hiring decisions, of course, are made by the principals because they're the experts in being able to recognize good teaching. But we help them when we contribute to the process in the non-instructional areas, the areas of credentialing and licensing and reference checks and background checks, making sure that the application claims that people are submitting are backed by paperwork. And we help to advance the protection of the students with our CORI checks for the Massachusetts infractions and the fingerprinting for anything within the country. Then once people are recommended and approved, then we make a timely, fair, and appropriate offer for them. And that's how we contribute to, I gotta say, this is a great hiring season. We started this school year fully staffed. There are no teacher vacancies right now. And of the 25 teachers that we hired, every single one of them is licensed, has the appropriate license from DESE.
That's amazing. That's just unbelievable.
That's
Well,
amazing.
I think we need perspective on that because we would expect that, so maybe you should.
Oh, maybe
Maybe you should educate the group so they understand how important that is.
That's extraordinary for a district to be able to find an appropriate licensed candidate for all the positions, the ones that have got plentiful candidates from which to select, but also the ones that are harder to select. It's not common for a district to start, first of all, fully staffed, and secondly, fully staffed with fully credentialed people. This is, you need to be impressed by this. This is and I think the reason, besides the great work of my HR office, I think it's a testimony really to the reputation of our schools educationally and the desirability of Neshoba as a place to work. So I think you all have a big part to play that we do get people to apply. I want to give you some numbers to back that up. We received and processed for teachers and instructional assistants, so the instructional staff, 1,995 applications this summer from people who
Just
wanted
let
to
that
join.
sink in for a minute. Almost 2,000
I know,
applications.
I wanted to ask 5 friends to apply so that we could. And that doesn't even count the people who applied. Steve spoke of having some non-Neshoba people in the ESY program. That doesn't even count the people who applied for the ESY program, the people who applied for our coaching positions, the people who applied for our long-term substitute positions, and our supports positions. So this is the place, people want to be here. For our 25 teaching positions, we've got 1,582 applications. The winner in one of the positions drew 337 candidates.
Again, just think of that for a minute. 337 for
And think
one
of-
position.
Sorry,
No.
I think you should make these public. Like, I think you should put them somewhere.
That's just an incredible
When-
number.
I think it's so important that people understand, like, there's all these pockets of concern in areas, and I get it, everybody has a right to have a concern, but like, you lose the forest for the trees sometimes, like, get up outside of it, and I think we need to continue to share this kind of stuff.
And just think that when we had our new teacher orientation, one of the people sitting before us that day was the one who beat out the other 336. You know, so I mean, you know that we got top notch, we really did.
Actually, we said that to them.
We did tell them that. We told them
that because, and we said, and I'm gonna put this out there too, you know, because again, sometimes you hear these, well, you're not saying this, but silly rumors, we can never combat the silliness of some of the stuff that we hear. But I don't know how many times I've heard, you know, through not our grapevine, but grapevines that are out there, well, I think administration has said that they can only hire first-year teachers. Nothing could be further from the truth. We have never said that. We have encouraged on occasion that you might want to think about maybe hiring a little bit more frugally, but we have never said do this. And the truth is, that didn't happen at all this year.
It didn't happen at all this year.
It did not happen. And so I feel that we got the best and the brightest in that room this year.
And that's a great segue. We have a very good mix of people with teachers who've got years of experience, some of them 12 and 13 years of experience, and some who are very early in their careers. And that's a nice balance to have. You don't want to have all one, and you don't want to have all the other. You know, it's good to have that. 19 of our 25 new teachers have got master's degrees, and a good several of the others are working towards the master's degree. And I'll tell you, you know, they're an impressive group. We walked into that new employee orientation last week, which was put on by our wonderful mentor coordinators, Jen Dontremont and Karen Mayotte. I mean, it was a room of people that you wanted to sit and talk to. You know, they were just inspiring. They were an inspiring group. Jen and Karen have, the new teachers have already met with their mentors, and they've had, like I said, the orientation last week with Jen and Karen, and Jen and Karen have already laid out a series of 11 times they will get together with Jen and Karen to talk about various topics of interest, either with Jen and Karen and or with some people that come in. And the first time that's going to happen is next week, is the next time that the new teachers are going to all get together. It'll be like a cohort. Similarly, our instructional assistant candidate pool was also very strong. We received 266 applications for our 7 positions. Our new IAs are college graduates without exception. Several of them got teaching license. I think 2 of them have got dual certified. They've all got experience with students one way or another, either in a classroom or you know, in the private sector, you know, in private programs or in other districts. So again, the level of competition for the slots, you know, here at Neshoba is really, I think, a testament to our reputation. At our opening day on Monday, we recognized 19 of our teachers who have attained the career milestone of professional teacher status. Professional teacher status is similar to the old concept of tenure. These are people who have successfully completed 3 years of service to the district. They've received the recommendation of their principal for this status, and they enjoy the support of the superintendent. So this is a huge career milestone. We read off their names, you know, on the first day because it's truly a big deal, you know, for them to get professional teacher status. So we want to make sure that we recognize that. They also get nice letters in their folder. So I want to close by thanking, before I ask you for any questions, by thanking my partners Vicki and Darcy. Vicki Chartier, in addition to helping Vicki and Darcy, in addition to helping all the hiring stuff go through without a hitch. Vicki has the additional duty, as you found out late last year, as the treasurer, and Darcy, probably the most important in the district because she's the payroll person. Without her, none of us show.
And she laughs when she says that.
I would come even.
I think you mean it.
But these others. And it's really, I'm very grateful. It's really a blessing to be working with them. So, questions?
One of the things that you didn't mention, and I didn't either, was the longevity awards that we gave out the other day too. We probably should have given some numbers on that. I think we might want to do that just to feed that information back to our school committee members. We had a number of people that we recognized for 5, 10, 15, 20, and I believe we have like 30 here that we gave out the other day. And as much as we are so excited about our new folks that are coming on, our 25 new teachers that are coming on, I said at our opening day, when you take a look at the longevity awards, those are our anchors. In a school district, those are our anchors, the people that have been here a long time that strengthen our infrastructure. So going back to your point, we have a beautiful blend across this district right now of new folks coming in and anchors that are there. So I would just put that out there.
Mike, yeah.
I'm not sure who to direct the question at, so I'll just ask broadly. So given that we had 25 new hires and we don't, at the outset, we don't really know what their level of experience is, and of course different levels of experience means different salary steps. Once all those hires are made, how does that jive with the money that's been budgeted for those new hires?
So that's a great question. I would, I can take that actually, and then Pat, if you want to throw something in, and Anne Marie, because that procedure for our central office is huge. And so I really appreciate you bringing it up, because I don't think people understand the depth of the work that's involved in that. And so we set, well, not Brooke, but your teams sit down in this very room, all with their computers up, and they start to match everybody up and whatnot to see where it all lands. And you know, sometimes you're okay because you've got a position in there that might be at the exact same or not. We had one position, more than one position, that came in around the $90,000 mark this year that we weren't counting on. So you're right, that's a huge process that we undertake, and we start early in the summer, and I think we just wrapped up, well, basically the last hire was our last wrap up.
So as a follow-up, what happens when we under or over budget for those hires?
Well, if we were over budget, we would be coming and letting you know, but that's not how it happened.
Okay.
It works out. In all fairness, though, to your question, we actually think of that through our budgeting process. Like, we anticipate
So let me
that.
jump in for a second, because, so when the superintendent comes forward with requests for adding positions, she gives us a range. But what we approve is a bucket of money. And that bucket of money is hers to use how she needs to in order to get things done. So we don't say, this position is $63,000, can't go, unless it's one of the positions that
The school committee has.
that the school
direct
committee is,
oversight on.
exactly. So it's the bucket of money that we're approving.
So as the bucket dwindles, does that limit the options for the final hires then?
It could, but it doesn't, to be honest with you, because I think our philosophy, because it's philosophical. I mean, there's a fiscal component too, but it's also philosophical. But our philosophy during my time here has been to get the best and the brightest within the dollars that we have. And that's what we aim for. And so, like I say, I know that, and I'm not joking when I say superintendents will often go and say, you can only hire first years, right? But we have not done that during my time here. And so, you know, when you've got somebody who's found their way through 336 other people, you've got the best and the brightest that you've got for that. So, but to your point, I mean, could that happen? That could, but honestly, I think where I was heading this summer is, if we would have gotten to that point, I would have looked to make a cut somewhere else. Because to Anne Marie's point, as much as she can tease, this is probably one of the most important things we do as a school district, is hire right. And I think that we've done a lot of things, certainly in the last 2 years, to make sure that if we haven't hired right, we've dealt with it in an expedient fashion, and we've gone back to hire right.
And Mike, you know, there's benchmarking, but over the course of the summer, right here, you know, Pat and Michelle and Vicki will sit down and see where we stand, you know, because there's a lot of sweating, you know,
Yeah.
thinking that, oh my gosh, we're over, oh my gosh, we're doing, you know, so we do that in intervals.
It's ongoing throughout the entire summer.
Yeah, it seems like it.
And then they feed it back to me consistently, so I know exactly where we're at throughout the summer.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Plus, the leader's card sheet, it's only that we recognized 86 of our employees for longevity of 5 years or more. And given 2 minutes, I can tell you how many at each level.
Yeah, do that just quickly,
Okay.
because I think it's valuable.
Oh, for goodness
Oh,
sake.
I
You're gonna
thought
add
she
and forget
already
about it.
had it. She's, by the way,
She's quick.
Give us the top ones, I wanna hear about,
The 25ers.
yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. There were 2 30s at the center school. A preschool teacher, Diane Kilcoyne, is celebrating 30 years, as is Karen Treviano, grades 3-4. Some 25s, Richard Kempsky, math department head and teacher at the high school. Timothy Kelly, he's a music teacher at Sawyer.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Kevin Keaveney.
There he is, yay,
Congratulations, you're still here.
Poor guy.
And let's see, we'll do the 20s. Barbara Shaughnessy, she's an instructional assistant at the center school. Joel Bates, principal at the
Yeah, 20 years.
Sandra Bowles, she's a 3rd grade teacher. These are the Florence Sawyers. Judy Lipka, Karen Sullivan, Karen Cavioli.
A lot of Sawyers.
A lot of stories that we got, let's see, 3 or 4 at the high school. Cheryl Gallagher, special ed teacher. Instructional assistant Kathleen Patnod at the high school. Leo Sapalorian at the high school in the social studies. Jody Specht. Lori Basili, our cafeteria manager down in Burbank, who makes homemade like everything.
She's the one that does the chicken salad, we have to talk to Tom.
She might be.
That's all, somebody else's chicken salad, it's not working for me.
Judy Carlin, guidance counselor at Burbank, and Scott Rossley at Rollinson, music teacher.
Thank you for that.
And Linda Milton, special ed
Yeah.
secretary, our last 20 years.
And I think too, I wanna thank Alita too, because this is one of those things too that she, and by the way, she was also recognized this year too for
Alita.
longevity. But 2 years ago, when I said, let's take a look at honoring these in a little bit different way, and so we have, at first I thought she was just gonna say, oh my gosh, Brooke, but she's got such a pattern now, that I went to her this year and I said, we've gotta get all those gifts organized. Brooke, it's right here. It was all there. She had gone through and all, because we do give little gifts for each of the 5, 10, 15, 20, and so I think Kevin's some nice gifts too. I think to point that out,
What'd you get, Kevin?
A bowl.
A what?
A pretty glass bowl with engraving on the side.
Oh.
Yeah, really nice. So Alita does that every year right now, and she does a certificate for everyone, so that when they come up, to shake the hand, they get a nice gift and a certificate too, so. Anyway, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Thanks, Alita.
All right, wow, what a great night. Thank you so much for.
It's a lot tonight.
I know, you said I'm so excited, and I was like, yeah, that's great, and now I know why you were excited. Okay, so we've got no old business, but we're gonna run through a couple of quick subcommittee reports. Steve, you wanna give us an update on budget and warrant?
Yes, we had our meeting tonight, and we were scheduled to review the monthly reports, but they were not ready yet. So we will be reviewing them at our next meeting, which will be at 5 o'clock before our next regular school committee meeting. That's it.
Thank you, sir. And then we've got let me run down this really quick. I know we don't have a report for personnel, but can I give you school committee overarching goals to take a look at?
You know you can.
Okay. Please take school committee overarching goals. I think that they have been consistent and with some tweaks, but.
I want personnel to look at.
I want personnel to look at those,
Okay.
yeah, and
We'll
make
put
some
it on a very
recommendations.
full agenda, and we'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
The correct team.
Terrific, thank you. And policy, you'll have a report, you can have a report next time. Will you have a report?
I'm waiting to hear back about possible meeting, a possible meeting.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. And CPAC, we
Just
don't.
real quick.
Oh, yes, that's right.
We have an opportunity to help CPAC. This is going out, I think, in all the virtual backpacks, but it's worth us knowing about. If you go to Not Your Average Joe's on Tuesdays during the month of September and mention the NRSD CPAC, they will donate 15% of your check to the CPAC, and this
that's
helps
awesome.
fund I'm gonna give it to Ann. Ann, could you put this in the paper, like an article on it?
That would be for free, of course.
when she needs it.
So in addition to when you go there and you give your server your name and contact number, you could win prizes like a Not Your Average Joe gift card, admission for 4 at the Discovery Museum, and 18 holes at
Oh, wow.
Wedgewood Pines. If I win that, I will be raffling that off, and the proceeds will go to my own vacation fund. So,
I don't
but
think you
anyway,
can do that, but okay.
Not Your Average Joe, if you haven't been, I think it's awesome.
That's great.
And I'm certainly gonna see if I can go.
So will you have an update for us on CPAC at the next meeting?
I will,
2
yes.
weeks?
Yes, I will.
Okay, terrific.
Very good. But
Thank you, and thanks for sharing this. Okay, communication advisory. So this year, we put in place a communication advisory to look at the communication structure, practices of the school committee. It is not the same as the practices of the district and the administration, which Superintendent Clenchey and Assistant Superintendent McGuire, thank you very much, are looking at. So I'm gonna turn it over to Elise, who is the chair of that committee.
Sure, thanks. So we have, as the communications subcommittee, met twice this summer. We managed to squeeze in around everybody's travel and luckily not during the heat waves. And in our first meeting, we really just did a lot of brainstorming, you know, who are we trying to communicate with, what kinds of channels might we use, how might we better use the school committee section of the website to pull things out. And Jen, you can see sort of some of those discussion topics in the whole minutes, but we sort of talked through what are some things that we could do differently or some ideas that we might have. And then in our last meeting, we dug a little bit deeper into, during our first meeting, we talked, of course, about using social media as a possible communication avenue and what that might look like. And in our most recent meeting, we decided to not make any social media decisions just yet because MASC is in the process of putting together guidance for school committees to make sure that they understand. One of the key issues that we have to think about is that if we post something on Facebook as a school committee, it's subject to open meeting law and any sort of comments or discussion that happen on the school committee page, and so we want to make sure that we fully understand. And you know, a lot of districts and school committees are figuring this out as they go, which is why MASC has been spending the summer starting to pull together some guidance for school districts and school committees to think about and understand how that relates to open meeting law.
So, Elaine, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I wasn't at the second meeting, so.
So it's challenging for our community members and frustrating at times because it would be so much easier for us to put everything on Facebook, because I think that's where a lot of people go. I disagree that everybody's only on Facebook because I think that people are kind of spread across different vehicles. But I did contact, we had discussed this in one of our meetings, and I did contact the attorney because there is a concern about open meeting law and deliberations, which are really discussions and making decisions for the school committee, have to happen in this room or in a public setting, and it has to be, anyone from the public has to be able to come into the meeting, or we can't do it unless we're in executive session, and in order to do that, there are specific reasons and rules. Okay, so given that, the concern that he had, and I really did try to talk, and if he's listening, Mike, I'm sorry, but I really did try to talk, I did the best I could with it. His concern was that whenever anyone who's on a school committee puts something on Facebook as a school committee member, that it automatically identifies them as a school committee member, and then if another school committee member jumps on, or if there's a discussion that starts that may not be appropriate, it opens the district up. So if you have a Facebook page, and it's your personal Facebook page, you really shouldn't be discussing district business on that page. And there are a whole host of other reasons why he was concerned about it. He's concerned about some things that are out there now, and I'll pull a couple of you aside and we'll talk about it, and I'll share with you why those concerns are there. But I think Elise's point is well taken, that that MASC, and I know that Dorothy contacted me 3 months ago and said, we're thinking about putting this together, give me some ideas, what do you guys wanna do? So she's even kind of figuring it out herself. So I think it would be prudent for us to wait, not just until MASC has decided what they wanna do, but I even said to our attorney, what if we just put, links to the agendas, and what if we just put links to the minutes? And he's like, I don't really, so that's where we are right now. I think we need to respect the concerns that our trusted legal counsel has. And then, as I said, I'll talk to a couple of you offline. Lynn?
So, does the communication advisory have a charge?
Yep, it's in the, if you go on the tab, the school committee tab, and you go in subcommittee advisory meeting agendas, it should be in there, right, Elena?
Yes, and I can read it off very quickly because I have it pulled up on my phone. I apologize that I didn't mention that in my update. Our charge is to create a communication strategic plan specifically for the school committee and present our recommendations to the school committee.
It's under assignments, it's the very first.
Yeah.
Under
Yep.
assignments. So it's in here. So I guess.
So coming up, next, we will be starting to, we took a little side detour to talk a lot about social media, because we know so many parents are on social media.
Right.
And we wanted to get that out there first, and brainstorm a little bit about it. And our next steps will be to really start to look at our strategic plan and think about, how do we better make use of the space that we have on the website? How do we make sure that people are finding the information that we're looking for? What other avenues can we explore that are not necessarily a Facebook page, but that are reaching community members where they are?
And what are, what are those venues if we're going to hold, town hall meeting? Why would we do it? At what point would we do it? What would be the purpose of it? I had someone tell me last year, she wanted us to have a town meeting so that she could debate the school committee. Well, that there's something not right there. So you need to have a discussion with your school committee members. There are traditional avenues, and I think we need to look at, and I think Elaine and Elise feel the same way, that we need to look at more contemporary ways of including that in what we do. Lynn?
I understand the contemporary stuff from what we've gone through. I get that.
Yeah.
But our website is the communication of record, right?
The website is where all official information should come from. It should not come from individual.
So if that is the record,
Yep.
all right, and so anything outside of that, we're individually liable, or we're opening up the school committee to something if we go into any other media?
No. I think the concern was that there's an opportunity for discussion to happen that kind of leads you into an area that could cause problems, or leads you into, like, there's a very active Bolton community Facebook page, and I work during the day, so people would contact me and say, you better look at this because something's going on, and if I needed to jump in and clarify something, I would. And the other school committee rep at the time it was like volumes, and God bless him, but sometimes it was like, I have to clean this up, but please, so you just have to be careful with it.
So I'm wondering if by exploring these other avenues of communication,
That may or may not work.
that we're bringing the focus away from our website, which is the.
So you're looking at this from a black and white perspective.
Right.
It's what is like, so Joel Bates and I sat down several years ago because he was looking at his communications, and we put together a communication plan. So I'm gonna use that as an example. So and this is not Lorraine's committee, these two ladies are, and you're the chair. I'm just giving an example to help you understand this. So it was, well, when you have something that's urgent or something that's critical, what vehicle do you use, who sends it out, and is it a push notification where you're letting people know something, or are you engaging them? So if it's an update and you want people to know, hey, just be aware, this is coming, where does that go? So it's what type of communication, what vehicle is it? And one of the things that we talked about was, and I'm not gonna go down this road because you're gonna bring this up in the next meeting, there are different types of communication, like crisis, maintenance, and events. So what is the right vehicle for that? And
But is
more
that-
important, but more, I'm going right there now. More importantly, is it the school committee's role or is it the administration's role? Because there's a way too much crossover into the administration's function,
Yep.
which adds to the confusion for the community on who's doing what. Brooke got, Superintendent Clenchey got a few concerned parents contacting her because of things that they had seen on social media in other venues and created problems, right, this summer?
Yeah,
Things that are, but isn't that stuff that's her, you know, you were the right person to fix that, not us.
Right, so we're not going to do that, we're going to look at what is it that we own in our box that doesn't impinge on administration.
And then the other concern that I would have is if you're going to be answering or clarifying or whatever, are you watering down the Neshoba website?
No.
Where they should be getting their information.
Now,
Everything
it
should go there.
drives everybody back, so,
Right.
you know, some people may go to the Neshoba website on a regular basis and be like, I can't wait to read the latest minutes from the school
I
committee.
can't wait.
But, you know, or I can't wait to watch the latest video.
I check every day to see if the meeting is.
Right, if, you know,
when
are there new, is there a new meeting packet up yet? I can't wait. But people may also not always know where to find things.
Yep.
And if you look at like what many of the towns do, you know, you can sign up for a newsletter, email newsletter, and when there's new stuff up on the website or new things that you need to pay attention to, here's a new event, you know, you're getting an announcement sent to your email. And it reminds you, oh right, I should go check that. There will be in no way watering down or different from what we share on the website in terms of the business of the school committee, but it'll be another way of ensuring that people who may not know about the website or may not know where to find things or may not know that you can find all the videos of every school committee meeting ever on YouTube, you know, help them find that and ensure that we're reaching as many people in the community as possible so that people don't feel like, I don't know what's happening, or I heard about this, but I don't even know where to find out more. But not a different message, it would be driving people continually to everything that is on the website.
Does
that make sense?
So what,
It does, but I'm, right now, nobody is looking, well, my impression is that nobody is reading the website. Nobody's going to the website.
well, I don't know that you can say that, and we could get that information
Actually,
from
we,
Sue Chi
yeah,
with hits and
we actually do have that
pages and-
information, and I can tell, in fact, we've tracked the
It
number
is
of
tough.
hits.
It is tough.
We
Well-
track- I'm just saying though, that we
No,
do
that's
track the hits, we know exactly what percentage goes to
And that's
school committee,
something
what
we should get.
percentage goes to classrooms, we track it all.
Well, it's just that I know that when I need something, I just call it.
Don't we all? But you got a little tie-in there.
But wait, no,
Oh my God.
But it makes a point, it's the stuff, although you can write a little search in there, it is really difficult to.
But
Oh,
that's
we're
what
well aware.
Todd's
Yeah,
doing,
we're
he's
well
working
aware.
on that. He just said he was working on it, right?
It's
part
part
of
of
your-
in the summer, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on, but thank you.
yeah.
I mean, it's like, this is the, you know, it's an advisory, it's our first time as a district having this for the school committee. And I think it's actually a really good exercise, and when you bring forward whatever we come up with, I think it's gonna be a good way to remind school committee members and the community what the function of the school committee is versus because we can talk about it all the time, but until you see it, it doesn't really make sense. And who do you talk to for specific things? Okay. Are we good?
We're good?
All right, so consent agenda, assuming that the meeting minutes of June 20th, 2018, and the warrants for August 31st, 2018, everybody signed, and we're good to go unless someone has a concern. Items for next agenda. Yeah.
Oh, this is for the planning calendar, I had mentioned it the last meeting a long time ago. But in January, are we supposed to get a report from the high school about the thing, is a name
PLTs?
for it, it's escaping me.
The PLTs?
What's it? No, it's,
The
they
handbook?
hand out to colleges and they.
Oh, yes,
I know there's a name for it, I can't think of it.
oh, no,
No.
it's when Jody brings
Their
forward.
report card.
Yes, the scorecard.
Yeah, so are we supposed to review that, or she's, is that
No,
optional?
she presents
or-
it.
Right, we didn't do it last year.
Yeah, we're gonna put it on now.
Okay.
It's there.
It is? What
No, I
about
just
it?
put it there.
Oh, okay.
I was quick.
We build as we go.
Leader writes it down, it's not that.
Okay, I've got like a million things for next agenda, so I'm gonna read these off. If I miss something, and then Brooke and I will sit down. By the way, we have to meet on Friday. So Brooke and I will sit
Cancel all
down
your plans.
and go over this list and prioritize. So we've got, end of month, June, July, and August, and FY18 year-end financials from Pat. We've got, Kathy's gonna bring forward, if she can, and
That's
you
the
can
end
let
of
me
the
know.
month, that'll be the second meeting.
For the overarching goals?
Oh, no, I don't know that we're gonna have time for the overarching goals in September. We have to finalize we have to bring forward the superintendent's goals, and we had that for the last
Okay,
meeting.
we'll talk. You can
All
do
right,
it.
we're not meeting until the 19th of September.
Okay, so this one comes at the second meeting.
Yes.
All right, and then summer, the summer effort Chromebook maintenance pilot, you're gonna provide an update on that, Todd?
Yep.
Thank
You
you.
can kick the school committee manual revision down.
I'm looking at a different list, one second.
Okay.
We need to get on the calendar at some point, the digital learning plan, 3 to 5 year plan. So you're gonna do the school committee overarching goals recommendations. The communication plan, we need to add to the calendar when you're gonna report out on that, your strategy. And we're gonna move Todd's accountability system update to the following meeting. And there was one more.
Is that the 12th?
Yes, please. What was the other, oh, yeah, that was it. I think that was it. Oh, what else? I'm sorry, there's just so much to talk about.
Is the
I tried
Chromebook the
myself.
12th?
Hmm?
Is the Chromebook first or second meeting in September?
I think that would be the first one.
First?
Yep.
Remember that you've got the accountability on there too, the accountability update is going on there.
Yeah, we just, yep. We'll look at it. Okay, so we're good on that. Other than that, I think I would love to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Well, no, I gotta wait till closer.
Stephen, no. Stephen, Kathy's a second, please. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you all. What a great meeting. Appreciate it.